And I want you to know, I think one of the reasons that we don't experience a move of God in our city, we don't get to tap in to the life that God has raised us up to, is because we're comparing ourselves to ourselves. You know, I mean, I do good things and all that kind of stuff. I'm a pretty good guy. Yeah, not a problem. The issue is that is not who God has called us to compare ourselves to. The standard that we are to compare ourselves to is the standard of Jesus Christ. Not only that, Paul goes on and says, look, it is okay to compare ourselves to one another if we are doing it within the context of what it's intended to do. And this is something, I have to be real honest with you, I missed for a long, long time in my spiritual walk and development. But this is what it says. It says, we will not boast beyond measure, but according to the measure of the area of ministry that God has assigned us. He says, look, it is not wrong to be thankful, proud in a righteous way, not proud in a haughty way. But it is okay to look at ourselves and say, you know what? I am doing good work that God has called me to do, and to do that within the scope of the area of ministry that God has given me. What that means is that if God has given you the ability to teach, God has given you the ability to be a people person and engage with folks and stuff like that, then if God uses your gifts in those areas for His glory in His kingdom, you can take joy in that. You can take pleasure in that. That can be a part of the life that God has given you. But if He has given you that kind of gifting and you're not willing to use that, you're like, well, yeah, you know, I mean, I can do this every once in a while. What happens is we want to do this lesser thing, not lesser as it being a more important job than another, but lesser because it's not the area that God designed me for. I love the fact that we have a big group of people that can stand up here and sing and play instruments and do all that kind of stuff. They're using those gifts. You might say, well, God didn't gift me in that kind of way. Well, guess what? God doesn't compare you to them. God says we are to worship. God says we are to sing a new song to Him. We are called to do that regardless of how well we do or don't sing. But He may not be asking you to lead. But He may have gifted you in another kind of way. And if you're not actively using that, if you're not actively tapping into the life that He has given you to do, then guess what? We're coming up short. Some of us look at ourselves and go, well, man, I do so much more than they do. Now, we don't say it out loud. I know we're far too spiritual for that. We never say it out loud. But we kind of think it in the back of our head. We're getting ready to approach Easter, right? Man, we're going to have so many CEOs walking through the doors on Easter. You know, CEOs, right? Christmas and Easter only kind of people, right? You know? There are our good old CEOs that walk in at Christmas and Easter. And some of us are going to be so thankful they're here. Oh, man, we're so glad. We're so excited to see you. It's so great. Man, I'm glad you're here. We get the opportunity to connect all. Somebody's going to be upset because that person that walked in is sitting in your seat. Don't they know I sit here every week? No, they don't know that. They're only here 2 weeks a year, all right? Give them a break. We're glad they're here. What happens is we look at them and go, well, you know, I'm here all the time. We never say it out loud. We never say it to them. We're far too spiritual. But we think it in the back of our mind. We do the same thing when it comes to the way that we serve, the way we participate, the way we give. But yet what Paul says here is that we are to boast, but not boast beyond measure. What that means is that if you were Michael Jordan, scoring 15 points in a game is a bad game. If you were Chad Ozie in that same game, lasting 15 seconds without getting hurt was a good game. Because our measure is different. His abilities, gifting, talent in that particular area is vastly different than what mine was. God equipped me for something different than what He equipped Michael Jordan for. God equipped you for something different than the person sitting next to you right now. We don't measure ourselves compared to them. We measure ourselves based within what He has given us. And then He says, look, and here's something I really, really don't want to do. He says, I don't ever want to take credit for something that somebody else did. This is huge. This is so huge. He says, look, we are not boasting beyond measure about other people's labors. It's coming Saturday. We're doing something here at our church called Easter Fest. Some of you know exactly what Easter Fest is. Some of you don't have a clue, and that's okay. It's been in the beacon. It's been in the worship guide. There's slides, but I understand we miss that sometimes, okay? So let me tell you real quick what Easter Fest is. Easter Fest is one of those times in the life of our church where we invite the entire community to our campus just so we can love on them and bless them. So we ask parents and grandparents and friends and aunts and uncles and everybody else to bring kids here to our church, and we have Easter egg hunts all over the place. We separate them up by group. There's enough candy to give every kid on the campus diabetes. I mean, we got plenty of it. It's ready to go. And we do that, and we have volunteers that come and they give up their time to hide eggs and to greet people and do hot dogs. Sarah Hicks has upped the ante this year. We're not only providing hot dogs, but we're providing Conecuh sausage that day. That ought to be enough to get you here, folks, okay, if nothing else. And here we're doing this incredible thing for the community. And what will happen most of the time when we do something like this is we'll have a group of people that'll show up and they'll do the work and they'll invest and they'll be a part of it. And the next day we'll stand up in church on Sunday. We'll say, hey, you know what? We had X amount of people come. We were able to make an impact. Man, isn't this great? And somebody will turn to their neighbor and go, isn't it so awesome that we do that? Except we didn't do nothing. I want you to know when it comes to a thing like Easter Fest, there's something for every single person here to do. You don't have to have a special gifting to be part of Easter Fest. You can go buy some candy and drop it off so that we can give it to kids. That's something you can do. You can come here and you can help register kids or help hide eggs or do that kind of thing. That's something you could do. I want you to know that you could come and engage with a family in a 3-minute conversation while they're here on our campus. Do you know what's one of the greatest things you could possibly do? Just to interact with somebody that shows up here. You don't know them. They don't know you. That's okay. They're here to get free candy. They'll have a conversation with you. Do you know one of the things that you could do is during that time of preparation while the event's going on, you could be actively praying that God would do His work in our midst? That's something you can do. And those who have different gifting are measured differently based upon that gifting to how faithful they are being to what God is calling us to do as a church. If you don't have any expendable income right now, you've done all those things, you've tithed, you've trusted God, you've done all that kind of stuff, but you don't have any expendable income to go buy a $25 bag of candy, because it's ridiculous how much candy costs these days, right? You don't have that? Guess what? God's not measuring you by that. But there's a place for you to serve. There's something for you to do. You know what? I watch church every week online because I'm a shut-in and I'm homebound and I can't even be there on campus. Yeah, but can you be praying for those that are? While that event's going on. See, there is something for every one of us to do. There is a measure that we are given. And then Paul closes by saying this. So let the one who boasts boast in the Lord. See, when God does a move, when God brings us life, we're not boasting in what we did. Man, isn't it awesome what our church did? Nope, that is not the language we use. When God shows up and does something, look what God did. Because I don't want something that we can accomplish. I don't want something that we can manipulate or fabricate or create in any other way. I want something that only God can do. Where God takes something that was dead and brings it to life. And when he does that, we give him the honor and the worship and the glory that he is due.